the Instructor Podcast with Terry Cook, talking with leaders, innovators, experts and game changers about what drives them.
Welcome to the Instructor Podcast. This is a show that helps you become an even more awesome driving instructor. And as always, I am your splendid host, Terry Cook. I'm delighted to be here, but even more delighted that you have chosen to listen, because today we are continuing our theme of building the bridge between driving instructors and the road safety sector. And today I feel like we take a big step towards that goal, because we are talking to Olly Tayler, and we're talking about the lost generation of drivers, why the current new, young, youthful generation don't feel comfortable calling out current bad driving, and we're talking all things Honest Truth. Now, if you want to sign up to the Honest Truth, you can find a direct link to do that in the show notes, but I also want to mention that the sponsor of Season 7, which is Bright Coaching, offer a 3 years membership to the Honest Truth if you sign up to their professional diploma. So head over to brightcoaching.net to find out more about that diploma and find out more about how to get that free access to the Honest Truth. But just before we get stuck into today's episode, I want to ask you a favour, and that is to go and click subscribe. Wherever you're listening, whether it's YouTube or Spotify, Apple, wherever, go and click subscribe. So whenever we release a new episode, it drops into your feed straight away, much like the recent one with Bob Morton, which was the 3-year anniversary episode of the podcast, where we spoke all things coaching and the misconceptions around it. So by clicking subscribe, you'll make sure all of those new episodes drop straight into your feed, but it's also the best way to help me grow the show. So clicking subscribe has a big impact on that. So if you could do that now, unless you're driving, that'd be awesome. And once you've done it, let's get stuck into the show. So today on the Instructor Podcast, I am joined by the wonderful Olly Tayler. How are we doing, Olly?
Really good, Terry. Thank you. Wonderful. Haven't called wonderful before. I'll take that.
I was debating wonderful or fabulous, and I went for wonderful. So
Either will do. It's fine. Yeah. I'll take either of those.
Let me see if I can get this right. So you have been, or you were in the police force, Devon and Cornwall Police, for 30 years. And about half of that time was spent in road policing, traffic police, and around that stuff. You have since retired, and you are now the man behind, the mastermind behind the Honest Truth. Is that a good, very brief summary, do you think?
I'll take that. Yeah, that's a nice summary of the last 30 years. It's a little bit more extended than that, but yes.
Excellent. Well, I want to talk about the Honest Truth today. I want to talk about the relationship between the Honest Truth and ADIs in the road safety sector. But I'm keen to pick your brain a little bit first about young drivers, because you're someone that's experienced a lot in that road safety, road traffic area. I know that you've probably experienced some unpleasant things, shall we say. But I want to ask you I'm keen to know if your opinion is the same as mine, actually. What's the biggest risk that young drivers face, the biggest risk or the biggest challenge that young drivers face, do you think?
So there's a couple of things for me here, Terry. One of them, which is an obvious one that I'm sure listeners to this will nod in agreement, is that you get an awful lot of young drivers who will get to the point of passing a driving test. That is a massive life step for a young person, a huge life step. It's that independence. It's that, that really big thing to get that piece of paper in your hand to say, you have passed a driving test. However, that only tells them one thing. All that tells them is that they're good enough at that time on that day to pass a minimum DVSA standard. And what you then get is you then get young drivers, not all of them, don't get me wrong, but you get a proportion of young drivers who will go away from that test thinking they know everything there is to know about driving. Often as not, overconfident and underexperienced. That then leads to all sorts of problems occurring out on the roads once they have that golden ticket in their hands and they don't have an ADI sat next to them as a voice of reason. So during the course of lessons, they're going a bit too fast towards the roundabouts, or the car in front is slowed a bit quicker. That voice of conscience in their ear saying, let's slow down about now. That car in front slowed down a lot quicker than we are. And there's a roundabout coming up. You might want to just drop a bit of speed off to negotiate the roundabout safely. They have to make all these decisions themselves. So it's about making sure that they've got the skills and abilities to be able to make these decisions. The other issue we've got, nowadays are, without a shadow of a doubt, are distractions. Distractions are huge. You've got distractions down to the beat. You've got all the other things going on around you as any driver, particularly as a new driver, when you're trying to focus and concentrate on everything you were taught during your lesson. But you've got all these distractions outside the vehicle. You've got other motorists, you've got other road users, you've got weather, you've got all sorts of potholes. Let's not go down the potholes route, but you've got all these things to think. You've then got distractions in the vehicle. And over recent years, I think that distractions in vehicle have really sort of increased. You're talking about infotainment systems. You're talking about linking phones into car systems. You've got your passengers to think about. You've got all these other distractions in the vehicle. And thirdly, you've got all these distractions in your head. So you're thinking about, have I done that piece of coursework, or I need to get to work, or I need to do this, need to do that. And there's all these other things going on. So suddenly you've got three huge areas of distraction in the vehicle and outside the vehicle, which actually are very difficult to shed some of the, be focus on that core task of driving. And driving in 2024 and beyond, it isn't easy. It's not easy. The roads are busy. The weather's not great. There's so much going on. There are so many decisions that need to be made. Decision after decision after decision after decision. And the moment you get one of those decisions wrong, then that's when it will start to go bad. So it's about having that ability to be able to focus on the task in hand. And I think that's what a lot of young drivers will struggle with, is being able to solely focus on that core task of safe driving with all these other distractions around them, that they've got to try and filter all these out. And that's not an easy task. And again, even really experienced drivers, they can't do it. They get drawn into situations, they get drawn into things in the vehicle, they get drawn into things inside their head. So it's all about shedding what you can out of that and actually focus on that core task of driving. I think that's one of the toughest challenges that face any driver, particularly young drivers. They don't have that experience of being behind the wheel on their own, on the road, making all those decisions for themselves.
It's a fascinating answer, and I think it is similar to my thought. My first one is experience, but as you said there, inexperience, which you said, and also how that relates to distracted driving. But I want to touch back on something you said right at the start of that, when you said about the test day and how the test means that you were good enough for 40 minutes on that day. Because I do think that's something that we don't necessarily stress enough. And it's something that I ask most, if not all of my students, is, what does passing your test mean? The answer I often get is, well, it means I can drive. I'm like, no, it means you can drive legally. We decide you can drive. And if we decide you can drive, as in me and the student, then you go take your test because we know you can drive. You then get a piece of paper, like you said, that means you can legally drive. And I find that's always an interesting little shift in the mindset. Do you think that's something we need to get across more?
I think, yeah, absolutely, Terry. And, exactly as I said, that piece of paper tells them nothing more than you were good enough for 40 minutes to pass the DVSA standard. That is the minimum standard required to be able to get your driving license, to be able to earn that driving license. The journey of learning to drive really starts after that, because they don't have that voice of conscience behind them. They don't have that person who can make a split second decision for them if it's required in something started to unfold in front of them that they haven't spotted or they haven't reacted to in time. They're now in a position they've got to do all this for themselves. They go from morning of having a driving lesson, the last one, a pre-test lesson where they've got that voice of conscience. The afternoon, they could be out on their own in exactly the same traffic, the same conditions, same weather conditions, whatever it might be. Suddenly, in the space of an hour, they've gone from, safety bubble, I'm now going to do everything myself. I've got to do all these things myself, and I've got to make all my own decisions. And that's a really big jump to take, And that learning to drive journey for me really starts, once they pass their test. I think ADIs have got a real battle on their hands sometimes. And ADIs I talk to, often it's not, and I always ask the question when I speak to ADIs and do ADI presentations to ADI, is what is your role as an ADI? Let's get right down to the core of it. What is your role as an ADI? And I'll always get make safe drivers for life. That's the corporate thing from central government, safe drivers for life and all that. But actually, when we boil it down, it's to make a young driver, or to get a new pupil, to get them to their test, through their test, as quickly and cheaply as possible. Let's be fair, that's what it's about, because that's what the person who's paying for the lessons wants to hear. How quickly and how cheaply. And ADIs, you see them nodding their heads and go, yeah, that's right. But actually, therein lies part of the problem, because ADIs are under pressure from parents or those that are paying for lessons. Why isn't little Johnny got his test yet? Why isn't he test ready? Well, because he isn't. Why isn't he? Well, I want him to be test ready. I want him to pass this. He's ready to drive. He's ready to pass the driving test. Yeah, I'm the expert here, and I don't necessarily agree. I didn't really start to learn to drive probably until I joined the police, to be honest. And over my career, I did a bit of a snapshot when I finished my career last year. And I worked out I had somewhere in the region of about 900 hours of additional driver training throughout my career. I was being retested every 3 years as an advanced driver and as a tactical pursuit containment driver, a TPAP driver. Every 3 years, my skill set was being retested, and it was being retested robustly as well to make sure that I was still competent to be able to hold the skill set that I held in regards to my driving. And I love my driving, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love it. But I still learn every time I go out driving. I still learn something. Usually from other drivers, I'll be honest, but I do learn something every time I go out. And I use that learning to improve my driving when I'm out and about. I'm not the world's best driver. I don't think any of us are, but I like to think I'm a safe driver. And I certainly, look at driving in a very different way to maybe a lot of other people because of the things that I've dealt with and the way that I scan a road, that I scan a road environment. I scan it in a very different way. And it's interesting because, I'm very lucky and it's second nature to me. And I know I'm lucky in that I've had these experiences being a serving police officer for so many years. And I've had the ability to be able to have some of the best driver training in the country, to be able to drive to the level that I drove at for many, many years. And I know that I'm very fortunate in that respect. So, if I get an opportunity to speak to a young driver or a driver, then I'll say, look, just let's look at this in a slightly different way. Let's look at driving in a different way. Not just like getting from A to B. It's about getting from A to B as smoothly as possible. It's like a ballet. It's choreographed. Nothing's left to chance. Everything is planned when we're driving. Absolutely everything. So actually, we do end up getting to our destination safely, and our passengers have a nice ride along the way. It's not like being in a ferry. They want to have a nice, smooth, stress-free ride. A smooth, stress-free drive for me. I don't like to get to a destination stressed about anything, and I don't get stressed about driving. It's like, you want to do whatever you want to do in front of me, that's fine. I'm just going to drop back and let you get on with it. I'm going to be a spectator, not a participant. But people get drawn into things very easily. And again, that's when things start to go wrong. They suddenly closes, bottle down around them, their vision's gone, their forward observations have all completely gone, and something happens in front of them and they have no time to react to it because they're getting themselves drawn in and these sort of things. There's so much out, there's loads of stuff out there. We could be here tonight, Terry, but it's for me, it's about making sure that a young driver, a new driver, has got the skills and abilities to make the right decision at the right moment in time when they are on their own.
A lot of interesting stuff there that I want to touch back on, but I think I want to touch back on something I maybe slightly disagree with a little bit, because you were saying about the role of an ADI and being to, in theory, get someone past the test as efficiently and as possible. And yes, that is the kind of the DVSA thing. It's what a lot of the public expects. But I think where I push back on that slightly is that I think there's a lot of people out there that don't have that opinion, because I work with them every day. The example I will use specifically today is a new student. She'd had lessons previously with someone else. She'd failed the test a few years ago. She's come to me after being recommended me by a friend. And we did this first lesson today. She got a test booked for July, did the first lesson today. And I'm like, I'm not being funny, but you don't need to wait till July. You'll be ready in a matter of weeks, never mind anything else. And she's like, can we leave it for July? I'm like, well, we can, thinking it's a financial thing. And she's like, no, I want to do some of the stuff that he did with my friend. I want to do motorways. I want to go and do multi-story car parks. So, and she's listing all this stuff. I'm like, this is amazing. And this is what, I hate saying this, but this is what my students are like. And I think I've got 12 at the minute. And there's one that I have not a problem with, but is the pushy parent, if you like. And that for me, and I'm talking solely about me at the minute, but that for me is what I put out on social media. It's what goes out on my website. It's what goes out on my learner podcasts that I do. It's what my students recommend to their other students. So I do think there's significant portion of people like that want to do that safety and safe driving for life, not just pass a test as quick as possible. And I just wonder sometimes, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this. I just wonder sometimes if every ADI took that approach and put out that content around safe driving for life, around don't do the minimum number of hours, you want to do this, around these things, the stuff we've been talking about. I wonder where the other people would go. The section of learners and the section of public that does want to do the absolute bare minimum because, I just want to get past. I wonder where they go. I'd be interested in your thoughts on what I've just said.
Well, that's a really interesting point, Terry. And, yes, I did say about, you're absolutely right. And the wax lyrical about, how quickly and how cheaply. And that's often driven by the person paying for the lesson, not necessarily by the ADI giving the lesson. So it may be that the ADI that's giving the lesson is one much like yourself, who is very keen to deliver those extra life skills, if you like, around learning to drive, but is under immense pressure from parents or whoever's paying for those lessons, that they feel that there's this need to get them to the point of test, as quickly as possible, because that's the pressure they're getting from parents. So I think actually that education should start with parents, and actually, engaging with parents. And I know that ADIs have a lot of ADIs I speak to have real challenges in engaging with parents. So all they do is, yes, they'll pay for a lesson, and they just want to see little Johnny or whoever, getting their lessons done and getting mobile as soon as possible, because that means that as a parent, they can then stop running them around everywhere. Parent of two boys myself, I know exactly what that's like. And when they both passed their tests, they're both in their 20s now. They both passed their tests. I was sitting at home drumming my fingers, going, "Well, what do I do now?" They don't need me anymore. What do I do? I just sit and worry about them until I need the car pull up on the drive when they've been out and about. So I think it's a really interesting point you make about ADIs. Looking at actually that shift in culture to go, I'm not going to put you into your test as soon as you want. We're going to do these extra bits. We're going to do, the motorway driving or the motorway and carriageway driving, because not every county's got a motorway in it. Cornwall being the classic example. The things like your multi-story car parks, your shopping centre car parks. These are the things, drive-throughs. These are the places that these young people are going to go. These are the places that they need to know how to deal with properly. And you're absolutely right. If every ADI in the country went, no, I'm going to change my culture completely, and this is what I'm going to do, those that are the fast and hard and, zero to hero in 48 hours kind of merchants are going to suddenly, those people that want that style of learning and that style of teaching, they aren't going to have anywhere to go. So actually, the downside of that is they end up going for they go, well, I'm not going to bother with an ADI, then I'll just do it myself.
Yeah.
But there is a double-edged sword to this, without a shadow of a doubt. And what we don't want to do is to encourage people not to have that professionalism that an ADI will give them during that learning to drive process, and make sure that they get that proper driving education and those structured lessons to be able to, turn out as safe a driver as they possibly can at the end of that conveyor belt.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. I mentioned the one problem student or the problem parents at the minute. My goal for that student is a little bit different to the others. My goal, I just want to get her as safe as I possibly can, because she's going to be taking a test in her own car. I know at some point the parents are going to stop having lessons with me. So I can't control what happens there completely. So the goal is I don't want that call in 6 months after she's passed a test. So it's to get her as high a standard as I possibly can. And you say we can't achieve that with everyone. We can't achieve the 10 out of 10 with everyone. But if I can get her to a 7, whereas otherwise she would have been a 5, that's the best I can do. And then just hope that, like you said, that journey that does pick up after passing your test, she does gain that. But I want to come back to that a little bit, actually, because I'm keen to ask you this, to get your thoughts on this, because maybe this is a little bit playing devil's advocate here, I'm not sure. But when we look at the stats and the tables that come out, anything relating to collisions or road deaths or, mobile phone use behind the wheel, anything like that, young drivers are almost always at the top. And I can't help but wonder if at times we're almost putting the blame on the wrong area with some of it, with the young drivers. Maybe blame's the wrong word. But you spoke before about the inexperience and the distractions. Now, as experienced drivers, we can manage distractions better and stuff like that. And I just think a lot of the time when a new driver gets on the road, a lot of the problems they're going to face and a lot of distractions they're going to face is going to be the bad driving of more experienced drivers. That you kind of touched on before. When you're driving, someone else will, you're like, yeah, whatever, it's fine, you go do your thing, I'll keep it. And we can teach that and we can work with that on lessons. But as you said, when they go out and deal with that by themselves, it can be a whole different kettle of fish. So do you think there's a potential there we're putting the focus on the young driver when actually it's the experienced driver causing the problem that the young driver can't then manage?
Terry, that's such an interesting point. And I'm chuckling, and I'll tell you exactly why I'm chuckling. Is over the years I've done countless presentations around these sorts of topics. And I refer, and I'm more than happy to refer to them, slightly controversially maybe, as the lost generation of drivers. We have a lost generation out there. Now, let me make an analogy to you. So if I took up the violin at age 17 and I practiced that violin every day, Some days I might practice it for half an hour. Some days I might practice it for 2 or 3 hours. But I practice it pretty much every day. By the time I got to sort of 35, 40, 45, I should be a virtuoso violin. I should be absolutely the top of my game as a violin player. Why isn't the same true of driving? This is something that we're practicing on a daily basis. But the more we practice, in a lot of cases, the worse we get. I say we as a collective. And I see, every time I go out, I see some appalling driving, absolutely appalling. But there is a point to this, and this does come back to your question. Young drivers are massively overrepresented in the killed and seriously injured figures. We know that, okay? We know that, and we know some of the reasons for that: under experience, overconfidence. Yes, they're getting drawn into things. They're not thinking about the risks that they're facing. It's too late when you get half around the bend 10 miles an hour too quick, and the back end step, the car steps out. It's too late to regret going into that bend 10, 15 miles an hour too quick. Far too late, because you are a mere passenger in that car. But here's the but. Where has that young person got a lot of their driving experience from? They've got it from whoever's been driving around for the last 14, 15, 17, 18, 19 years. So we know that actually, and studies have shown that license holder who's driving a young person around is on their mobile phone, is having a pint before they get in the car, is constantly speeding, gets involved in aggressive road behaviour, doesn't wear their seatbelt, whatever it might be. Actually, that's good enough for them. Whoever that person who is their source of influence. If it's good enough for them, well, it's good enough for me. So actually, well, Dad never wears a seatbelt. Why should I? Dad's fine. He's all right. Mum, looks at the mobile phone when she's driving. If it's good enough for Mum, well, it's good enough for me. So I think there's a real issue here with this lost generation of drivers who actually have an awful lot more influence on the young people around them that they are interacting with every day, and maybe taking out from school, dropping to college, taking shopping, whatever they might be doing, that actually their behaviour will rub off on a young driver. And when it all goes wrong for a young driver, it's a little bit late to say, well, it's me, why were they on their mobile phone? If actually that person is constantly on their mobile phone behind the wheel, because that's where they've got their influence from. If it's all right for them, it's all right for me. And that's a real issue for me, a real issue. And I see it all the time. I see appalling driving all the time. Even now, finished, I just roll my eyes and think, just wish I had a traffic car. Or just sat in a traffic car now, because, I'm in my own car and there's nothing to do about it. But, that person that's just done whatever they've done is going to come completely unstuck in minutes. They might get away with that behaviour 8 million times out of 10, but there's going to come an occasion when it's all going to catch up with them. And they're going to go and get involved in a collision of some sort, be it minor damage only, right up to potential fatalities.
It's interesting. I think you use the example of learning to play the violin there. You say, like, we practice every day in the car, but we don't. When people get in the car, they just drive, don't they? They're not practicing. It's not, and they use their phone. If you were learning violin whilst using your mobile phone or watching TV, you're not going to learn to improve at the violin. And I think that's what's happening with the driving. But I'm going to read exactly my next question. Now, when I make these notes, they're for me to interpret and me to read a different way. But I just think it's relevant that I've actually typed it out this way. Is this a demographic? So I'm referring to young drivers. Is this a demographic we should be targeting? Almost let everyone else be a dick. There's very little we can do, but let's get the youth on board.
Yes, because we have a cycle here. So we have a cycle. So we've got a cycle of drivers, generations and generations of drivers that are out now, that are driving, millions of them around the country that are driving. The lost generation, as I refer to them, rightly or wrongly. So actually, we need to find a point at which to break that cycle. What better point to break that cycle than at the point of learning to drive? Because ADIs, and I personally view ADIs as one of the most underutilized road safety resources this country has. That's my personal view. Is the power of that ADI pupil relationship is phenomenally. It's an incredible relationship. And ADIs, any ADI out there that's listening to this, shouldn't underestimate the power they hold to influence the attitude and intent of the next generation of drivers. So if we can break that cycle, and we can then say to the next generation of drivers, this is wrong, this is an unacceptable way to drive, this is unacceptable behavior behind the wheel, this is, these are the risks, these are the consequences, these are the outcomes. Every decision you make is going to have an outcome, whether you like it or not. A good decision is going to have a good outcome. a poor decision is like having a bad outcome. So if we can take the next generation of drivers and mold them through good quality education and good quality behavior change techniques by encouraging them to think about these things and to really think about the risks they face as a new driver, but actually get to a point where they then stop policing those that maybe drive them around as well. Mum, put your mobile phone down. Dad, no, have a soft drink, and actually get to the point. And I think the thing is nowadays we've got a generation of young people who are far more likely to speak out. They speak out about everything else. They'll speak out about everything else about, well, I'm not going to go into any of them, but there are multiple things they will be very passionate about speaking out about, and they're not afraid to be heard, not afraid to talk about them. But there's still this little hump we need to get over, that they appear to be reluctant to talk about road safety. And if they're in a car with a mate, and they're a passenger and a new driver behind the wheel, and they are speeding or they're driving in an inappropriate manner, there's still this slight hump that it's not, there's this social backlog or this little social bottleneck where they don't feel, a lot of them don't feel comfortable to say, look, slow down, mate, I don't want to die. Some of them will. There are those that will, but actually far more, are willing to call out somebody's behavior around sort of sexism or racism or all these other topics that are very sort of hot with young people at the moment. But I don't quite understand why road safety isn't lumped into that. So maybe that's another area, is saying, well, actually, it's absolutely fine to call out this poor behavior. You call it out in so many other areas of your life. Why not call it out behind the wheel? Call it out as a passenger to actually start to break this cycle that we've got. So we start with a generation of much more rounded, much safer, much more considerate drivers on our roads, because they will become parents in time to come and they will have children. So if their attitudes and behaviors and intent behind the wheel are different, they will then impart those attitudes, behaviors and intent onto the next generation. So it's a generational change we're looking at. It's not going to happen overnight, Sarah. This is a whole generational change, but it's got to start somewhere. And ADIs are in that unenviable position of having this one-to-one education for young people that want to be educated. They're paying to be educated. Actually, why not use that to feed in information like the honest truth, to feed it into these driving lessons, to give them the information, to give them those life skills over and above the mechanical skills of learning to drive that will turn them into more rounded, better drivers at the end of the day.
I agree completely. I think that I spoke about this on the podcast before, that last couple of years I had a bit of a blip in my driving school. So I was still delivering what I believe were good quality driving lessons, but the school itself wasn't up to standard. So I used to, in my opinion at least, and my students' opinion, to be fair, go above and beyond. And that above and beyond stopped a little bit. And it was towards the end of last year when it's like, I'm drawing a line in the sand now. Because the drivers I'm producing aren't as safe as the drivers I used to produce. Still good quality, but not quite the 10 out of 10 that I was doing before. And it was like, I'm drawing a line in the sand now. I'm never, ever producing a bad driver again. And I think, imagine if every ADI did that. Now, the problem is we're not reaching every ADI. Clearly, there are, as in any role, it's not picking on ADIs. Whatever job you go in, there are some that are there to earn a living, some that are there because can't do anything else, and some that are there because they care. But imagine every ADI that cared, drew that line, because everyone struggles with something. So I like that. And, the idea of, I love this current generation, the sort of 17 to 25, like you say, they do call things out. Whether I agree with everything they say or not, it's irrelevant. I love the fact that they are willing to stand up and say, no, I believe that's wrong, and shout out, but they don't do it about this. And I'm not necessarily sure this is the right phrase we should be using, but I'm forming a campaign idea in my head now, which is, how bad is your dad? And encouraging.
I like it.
I don't know whether you have to include mums in there somewhere as well, but I can't think what rhymes.
Yeah, mums, dads.
Yep.
Yes, any other guardian you might have.
Yeah.
Yes, that opens a whole can of worms.
I think if anyone follows TC Drive, you can expect a How Bad Is Your Dad campaign starting next week. I quite like that. But you mentioned again there about ADIs and the most underutilized resource in the industry. So a large part of this season I'm doing on road safety is about why instructors don't embrace the road safety sector and why they don't embrace us. Why do you think ADIs are the most underutilized resource?
Okay, that's really simple. So, as an ex-traffic officer, I would have liked nothing more, and I've spoken to paramedic colleagues and fire colleagues, fire service colleagues over the years, as well as local authority colleagues as well, who are involved in the delivery of road safety to young people in various forms and guises. And the thought of being able to sit next to every young driver that's going on, or the vast majority of young drivers out there learning to drive at the point at which they're learning to drive, to have the opportunity to sit next to them for 30, 40, 50 hours to not only teach them how to drive, but actually to be able to talk to them about these risks they face and how to minimize these risks and the behavior change strategies that they can employ to keep themselves as safe as possible on the roads once they have passed that test is the golden egg at the end of the day. That is the goose that laid the golden egg. But as blue light professionals, local authority professionals in the road safety world, that's something that will never, ever be achieved because it's completely unachievable. Simple as that. But hang on a minute. We've got a group of 40 odd thousand people out there who are doing exactly that. They're doing exactly that. They've got these young people sat next to them. They've got the ability to open up debate and conversation with them about just about anything. So actually, why not provide that collective of people, those ADIs, with the means to be able to deliver good quality, relevant, up-to-date road safety education as part of a course of lessons, not in addition to a past course of lessons, but as an integral part of that lesson. And that's where the honest truth differs. There's no additional cost to the pupil. It's no additional homework for them. It is introducing, at the moment, 10 truths. It will become 13 in the not too distant future. But to introduce the truth into these lessons so that actually they've got a hook to be able to open up a debate about it, talk to them about it. And it's incredible. Some of the stories I'm getting back from ADIs, Terry, are just unbelievable. I had one recently that said, my car, since I started using honest truth in my lessons, my car's like a confessional. Some of the things that my pupils are telling me about, I'm sat here thinking I'm like a priest. I'm hearing a confession about what my mate does. Oh, my mate does this, my mate does that. Well, actually, now they're starting to talk about it because the honest truth is giving them that hook to get into debate and opening up debate and saying it's absolutely fine to talk about things. It's fine to talk about drug use and driving because it's a serious issue and it needs to be talked about. You need to understand the risks you face. If you're sat in the corner of a car park, and even if you're not smoking a spliff of cannabis, but your mate in the front passenger seat is busy smoking around a spliff of cannabis, that secondhand smoke is likely to put you over the drug drive limit. Passive smoking will put you over the drug drive limit even if you haven't touched it. There's a good potential. You need to know these things. So I think that's where the difference lies, and where ADIs have got this incredible ability to be able to influence the next generation of drivers. And, like I said, they are a massively underutilized road safety resource. And I think there's just always been a disconnect between local authority and ADIs. Now, we're working with local authorities that are really keen to engage with their ADI community in their areas. I don't know if that's the same across the country, but certainly I talk to ADIs from around the country and say, how on earth do I get my local authority involved in this? And I said, well, you need to make those connections through whatever way. And what I try to do with local authority is, if I'm working with a local authority that have funded ADI places, is to try and close that gap between them. So we can start to build relationships with ADIs and the local authority to actually start to form more of a relationship. It's an uphill battle, and I'm but one person trying to achieve that. But I am. It's taking baby steps. You take a step at a time and get it right. And what's the next step? As a colleague once told me, and it's something that's always stuck with me. If you want to eat an elephant, don't do it in one bite. Take it in small chunks. You take it in small chunks, you will eventually consume the whole elephant. You try and eat it in one bite, you're like to choke on it. And I've always remembered that. Whenever I've got a real challenge ahead, I've always thought, don't eat the elephant in one bite. Take it in small chunks. Take a chunk, get it sorted. Next chunk, get it sorted. And that way, over time, we'll get to the point where actually ADIs and local authorities will be far more closely aligned. And actually, road safety education, like the honest truth, will become an integral part of a lesson. And it's the honest truth. That's the road safety we deliver within our lesson, as many ADIs around the country now are. We're just coming up to in the last 6 months our 7,000th truth being delivered to young drivers. That just under within the next probably week, we'll tip over our 7,000th truth. That's 7,000 one-to-one road safety interventions with the most vulnerable on our roads. That's incredible. And that is down to the dedication of ADRs just like yourself, Terry, that are committed to not just to teaching the mechanics of learning to drive, but to teach the life skills that sit alongside it that will keep them safe long after they pass their test.
We'll be back with more from Olly in just a moment, but I want to take a quick pause to give a shout out and a big thank you to a few of the latest sign-ups to the Instructor Podcast Premium, and they are Will Stewart, Jordan Gill, David Hope, Chris McShane, Carl, and Stuart Grundy. So a big thank you to those guys who have signed up and decided to enhance and upgrade their CPD with that premium membership, starting from as little as £10 a month, where you'll get over 75 hours of exclusive content to help you become a better driving instructor, covering topics from coaching to mindfulness and mental health to business development and everything in between. Now, I mentioned there about 75 hours already locked and loaded, ready for you to get stuck into, but I should also mention that we deliver more. So every month I'm adding new shows into there to help you become a better driving instructor and run a better driving school. So if you want to be like those guys and upgrade your CPD, then sign up today. The best place is either the website, www.theinstructorpodcast.com, or you'll find a link in the show notes to this episode where you can go straight through to the Instructor Podcast Premium and sign up. And I should just mention there is currently a 1-week free trial to the £10 tier. So you can get access to everything in that tier for a free week, basically. And if you decide you don't like it after that week, you can always leave without paying a penny. However, I think the current stat is 96% of people that sign up for a free trial opt to stay on. So make the most of that while it's there. But I also want to take a moment to give a shout out to the sponsors of Season 7 of the Instructor Podcast, and that is Bright Coaching. I love what Bright Coaching are doing. I love what the founder, Stuart Locker, is doing, and I'm genuinely chuffed to have them on board as a sponsor for this season. And it seems particularly apt that they sponsor the road safety seasons. That is a big part of what they do, especially within their professional diploma. So as well as signing up to the Instructor Podcast Premium, I highly recommend that you head over to brightcoaching.net, check out what they have to offer, and sign up to their newsletter as well. But for now, let's get stuck back into this episode. I think it's great that you're doing that, and I think it's great the Honest Truth is doing that, and I'm going to come back to the Honest Truth shortly. But I'm going to rephrase what I asked you slightly, because I asked this question to Rebecca Morris, who's the Director of Communications at Roadpiece, and she struggled to give me an answer, and I struggled to give an answer. So I'm keen to see if you can, because what you said, a disconnect there. So the road safety sector and driving instructors, there's a disconnect between the two. So for instructors don't embrace it and they don't always embrace us. Why do you think that disconnect is there? Because I love what you're doing with the Honest Truth. You know, you're reaching out, you're coming to associations, you're going to the expos, you're going on these podcasts and talking, and it's not all us coming to you and asking you to do it. There's you're reaching out to us. So this is where it's starting to work. But why do you think it doesn't work in more areas? And why do you think it hasn't worked in more areas?
So the problem where you look at road safety partnerships and those that work in road safety is that they are being pulled in every direction. Often as not, budgets are slashed, resources are pulled away to other things. There's, something else is the big thing at the moment. So actually, young drivers, whilst young drivers is on or should be on everybody's radar with regards to road safety partnerships, sadly, it isn't, because other things have overtaken, other things have become priority. And suddenly what was yesterday's priority isn't today's priority, and it won't be tomorrow's priority. So actually that gets put on the side burner, and people will pay lip service to that. Oh yeah, young drivers, we pop into sixth form colleges, or we do this, we do that. But actually you don't have the time or the resource to be able to do anything of any more depth or anything more meaningful than the bare basics. Because things like, mass audience participation, so things like Safe Drive, Stay Alive, and Learn to Live, Too Young to Die, Too Fast, Too Soon, Those sorts of things are an easy way for a road safety partnership to get to large numbers of young people in one hit. The Learn to Live I used to be involved in as a speaker in Devon and Cornwall. And the one in Plymouth, the biggest one we did, we could get to 1,200 sixth formers, year 12 and 13 in one hit. Okay, it's got a place, don't get me wrong, otherwise I wouldn't have done it. It has a place. But actually, how many of those 1,200 are we truly getting through to? You take something like the Honest Truth to the other end of the scale, where you're actually now delivering it on a one-to-one basis, using driving instructors as that mechanism, as that conduit to do that. But I think that what we've got is with everything else that road safety teams have got to try and manage, and I work with a good number of road safety teams, and I've got a huge amount of respect for all the ones I work with, and they are pulled in every direction at once, is to try and bridge the gap between road safety teams and the ADI work. Is just a step too far. They don't have the resource or the finance to be able to do it, which is why they come to somebody like Honest Truth and said, actually, if we fund ADI places, I can bridge that gap for them. So actually, the Honest Truth bridges that gap to a certain extent between road safety professionals and the ADI world, and tries to bring the two groups together as best possible. And that's working really well in places like West Mercia. It's brilliant. The West Port, the lady I deal with in West Mercia, really passionate about road safety, really passionate about young drivers, just doesn't have the time and resource to be able to do what I'm doing. And I'm almost, if you like, I'm sort of the person putting the fingers in the dike, trying to stop the flood as best possible. To go back to the story of the little boy in the dark. So there's a number of reasons why there's this disconnect. But also, and I might make myself unpopular with this next commentary, but I'm going to say it anyway. Apathy amongst a certain number of ADIs. There is apathy out there, without a shadow of a doubt. I've seen it at presentations. I did a presentation, I'm not going to say the country, and I did a presentation to a group of ADIs, and I said, okay, who's interested in getting involved? And there was an ADI sat there who just sat there, very semi-faced. I said, okay, so not interested in getting involved? I haven't got time for that. Okay, I haven't got time for what? I've not got time to do anything else in my lessons. I've just got to go and deliver lessons. But hang on a minute, this is part of a lesson. And they weren't going to have it. There was a real apathy there, and that's that. Unfortunately, I have seen that in a few areas, and there are ADIs out. Again, there are ADIs out there who see it purely as a means of income. There are some out there, and there's definitely groups of ADIs that I've come across where you can see those that are going to get involved in something like the Honest Truth because they're passionate about keeping their young pupils as safe as possible long after they pass their test. You mentioned it a bit earlier on, Terry. You don't want to see their name in the paper in 6 months' time as a tribute or as an offender, having been sent to prison for causing carnage on the road. So that's the last thing you want as an ADR. So you're always going to have those ones as well. Those are always going to get involved in wanting to better themselves and make themselves the best possible ADR they can. Then you're going to have the ones at the opposite end of the scale who are just going to do it, going to go out, deliver 8 lessons, go home again. That's it. That's all they're interested in. Then you're going to have this big group in the middle, this great big group in the middle that actually can be influenced either way. Those that go, I'd like to, but I haven't really got the time, or don't know, it's just more for me to do, Well, actually, if those ones can be brought towards the really enthusiastic end of the scale, actually, those at the far end of the scale are soon going to become the ones that are on the margins. That actually people are going to start going, well, why do I want to have lessons with them? And look at what else I get from this ADI. Now, I'm possibly a bit controversial, Terry, I know that, but I have spoken to enough ADIs over the years to understand the dynamics within the ADI community. And even having seen that exact example of that one I told you about, real apathy, well, that's fine. The chance of me getting through to that ADI are virtually zero. And I'm not actually going to waste my time on an ADI because I'm just wasting energy and calories, burning calories, trying to bring them along. There are far more ADIs out there who are going, yeah, please, I want some of that, I want it now. As I can, as I know from the emails I get in. I've had another ADI today sign up from another part of the country, said, love it, absolutely love it, really want to get involved, get me on this as quickly as possible. So, all we have to do is look at some of the testimonials on the website and some of the feedback that we had. We did an ADI survey last December. This is exactly what ADIs are looking for. A lot of ADIs are looking for it. It might just be they've never heard of us. We are now, our name is now growing and more ADIs are hearing about us and coming direct through the website to go, look, I've heard about this, I want to know more, I want to sign up, which is amazing because actually we're getting a real movement going of ADIs who want to deliver, good quality road safety education. all we're doing with the honest truth, we're giving the package to do that. We're giving you, I don't like the phrase, it's a real headquarters phrase, as I used to call it, giving you the tools to deliver that road safety education in a nice structured way. You can, through the app, you can follow the progress of each pupil. Doesn't matter if they're doing different truths here and there. When they graduate, they get a certificate to say they've graduated, and a nice certificate for their good achievement, all those sorts of things. So, it's really about trying to encourage ADIs, and to answer the question, is to try and bridge that gap between local authority and ADIs where we possibly can, where we're working with local authorities. So it's trying to plug that gap in and say, look, local authorities, here's a road safety resource you really want to think about using. And to ADIs going, here's a local authority that actually really does benefit does really recognise the input you give to road safety, because they're actually giving money to fund you to be able to do this, which means they do care about ADIs, because otherwise they wouldn't be giving you any money, to fund them, or to fund you having the honest truth. So there is that those disconnects are starting to be brought together. Does that make any sort of sense?
100%. I mean, it's interesting to use the phrase bridging the gap between the local authorities and ADIs, because that's a phrase I've been using this season a lot. I think there is a gap there, but that is the best answer I've had to that question. And I've asked a lot of people, not just on this podcast, but away from the podcast as well. That's the best answer. I would also say it's not controversial. It's a fact. You saying that there's apathy in certain ADIs isn't controversial. There's laziness, there's ignorance, there's a lack of compassion, a lack of care, a lack of, well, whatever, I just want to turn up and do my job. That's there. But I think there's also an element of what you said about people in the road safety sector. They're getting pulled from pillar to post. There are some ADIs I'm confident won't embrace this because they've got 17 people messaging them today asking for driving lessons. They've got parents chasing them up. They've got bills to pay themselves because they're still recovering from COVID. So I think that plays a part on both sides. But yes, there are definitely ADIs that just don't give a toss. And that's part of the problem as well. And, but I go back to the other thing you said. I had this exact conversation with someone recently. The people you're shouting to. So if you're at the top of the mountain shouting, the people at the bottom are listening, looking up and going, oh, I'm going to go and see what that's about. The people are a bit further away are like, what's going on over there? I can't hear that guy, but he looks interesting. I'm going to go pay a bit more attention. Then the people miles away can't hear you, aren't paying attention, but they're seeing the people that are paying attention and going, oh, I can't be bothered with that, or maybe in a week's time I'll have a look at it or whatever. So it's about the people you're talking to. But the last thing I'm going to mention there, actually, before I move on, you mentioned eating an elephant one mouthful at a time. If you like that phrase, I highly recommend the book Two Lengths of the Pool by Simon Hartley. Same principle, the champion swimmer, Olympic swimmer, who was struggling, and he was basically taught, all you've got to do is swim 2 lengths of the pool. Strip everything else back. Very same principle, but brilliant book. Highly recommend that.
I'll keep an eye for that one, Terry. Thank you. I like those sorts of principles in life. I really do. And another one that I always used to like was when I got involved in a large project at work was, Collie once said to me, Olly said, there's no point climbing a mountain unless every so often you stop and turn around and take in the view.
Mm.
You might, you can stare at the top as long as you like. But if you don't just take in the view from time to time as to where you've got to on that mountain, there's no point heading for the top. And I really like that. And I often think about that when I think I've got an app and I have got a mountain to climb, I think, oh God, how am I going to do this? I think, hang on a minute, just stop and turn around and take in the view for a bit. Because actually the view from where you're at is really good. The view from the top's going to be incredible, but actually don't dismiss the view from where you're at the moment.
Yeah. We're recording this on the 3rd anniversary of the Instructor Podcast. And I have taken a moment today to stop and admire the view for about 10 minutes and cracked on again. I'm recording with you. But I want to move on to the honest truth and ADIs and how they can use it for a minute, but the question I want to lead in with this is, from speaking to you, your interactions with ADI seem kind of overwhelmingly positive. It seems like you've got the good response from the individual ADIs. I'm interested to know, are you happy with the overall response? So the amount of people that have jumped on, I'm not asking for numbers, but the amount of people that have come on to the honest truth, are you pleased with that? Has it pleasantly or negatively surprised you, or do you have no kind of overall ideas of where it would go?
So the honest truth's been around for over a decade, as I'm sure you're aware, and was conceived out of tragedy 2010, 2011. And we got to the point where we were actually engaging with something in the region of 2,000 ADIs right across the United Kingdom. which was amazing. I think 19 road safety partnerships as well had it as part of their road safety strategy for young drivers, which is unbelievable. It's unbelievable and exceeded everybody's expectations. It grew into a monster that nobody expected in a million years. It was meant to be a very localized, down in South Devon, 25 driving instructors, and that was the end of it. Back to the office, tea and biscuits. Didn't quite happen like that, as you well know. Otherwise, I would be sat here today. It then went through periods of change. I won't bore you with the whole backstory, but people who were redeployed, I was redeployed to the front line. So I wasn't able to give it the time and energy that I could, doing a frontline shift-based role on roads policing. Excuse me, my fire service colleague I worked very closely with retired and wasn't replaced. New bosses come in, they've got new thoughts and budgets are sent elsewhere. And it became increasingly difficult to maintain what we were doing, increasingly difficult. It went through a phase of being a road safety charity, which worked to a certain extent, didn't again after the same pots of money as everybody else. Really difficult. Funding has always been a real issue. In 2019, the decision was made to either close it down and go, that was great, we did some amazing stuff, or is there somewhere else this can live? Is there somewhere this deserves to be? And the overwhelming response was we need to keep it going if we possibly can. And that was the point at which First Car was offered the honest truth as part of their portfolio. A very well-respected brand, very well-respected in the road safety industry. James Evans, as anybody that knows him, is a real force to be reckoned with. Incredibly visionary. And James and the team at First Car took it on in 2019, which was great. And we're looking to sort of not reinvent it, but to bring it up to sort of bring it up to into the modern world. We're still using paper-based resources at that point for doing. There was no real oversight of what was being delivered by whom and all these sorts of things. And then 2020 came along, and destroyed the driving instructor industry overnight, as we well know. I'm not going to dwell on that. But what happened, what it did do, was it enabled James and the First Car team, to really look at the honest truth and actually to reinvent it to the product that it is today through the app that's been developed to deliver the truth videos and some of the resources around it, and the new website and the other stuff that's gone on around this. And then when I was asked in 2022, so about 9 months before I was due to retire, James got wind that I was retiring. I was going to leave the police. And Kev approached me and said, look, would you consider picking up the honest truth and heading it up for First Car? I said, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to, absolutely love to. And the beauty now is that James gives me, fairly much autonomy on the way in which honest truth is run. We talk about the development and we discuss the development and stuff and bits and pieces. But what we've actually ended up with is a model, a road safety education model that is unlike pretty much anything else out there, because it's been designed for driving instructors, with input from driving instructors and behaviour change specialists within the industry, to actually be able to provide driving instructors with really straightforward road safety information they can deliver to their pupils as part of a lesson, and it forms part of a lesson, whether it's a theme of the week, theme of the day, it's client specific, as you mentioned, but actually you'll use the opportunity to say, we've just seen something. Okay, let's learn about that. Let's talk about that now. 2-minute video. So there's a 2-minute video presented by Keenan and Serena, 2 young people. They are the generation that are at their learning to drive now. So they're that similar age group. At the end of the day, Terry, a young person isn't really going to listen to me talking about road safety. I'm old and crusty and grey. What do I know about road safety? I know nothing about anything. Just ask my boys. Whereas actually, young people talking to young people about these issues, they are far more likely to engage with and to actually go take on board and go, actually, if they're saying this is how it is, then actually I'm going to listen to them because they're my kind of people. And Keenan and Serena are brilliant. I don't know if you've seen it in the videos. They're amazing. And I get constant feedback from ADIs going, my pupils love it. My pupils absolutely love the videos because it's their people talking to them in their language about these issues. So what we've done is we've really hit on a winning formula. As far as my expectations, when I came back and last July, really, so not even a year ago, I didn't really have any set expectation other than I knew what the old honest truth had done and what it had achieved. But that was with quite a lot more support behind it, a lot more resource behind it, that sort of thing. So I didn't really have a massive amount of expectation. The way in which the app has taken off, anything like this, anything new that's introduced into any industry is going to take a while to get a foothold. But actually, I think what has completely amazed me not surprised me, because it was the feedback I was expecting, to be honest with you. And had I not had the feedback I got, then I would have been a bit concerned and think, hang on, we've got something wrong here. We were fairly confident we had something right, and we got something right with regards to the app and the way in which we were developing the honest truth going forwards. But for me, the real big thing I've had is the feedback from ADIs. ADIs saying, this has been a game changer. This is an absolute game changer for my lessons. You know, one I met at the ADI NJC in Scotland, and he said, Olly, this is an absolute game changer. This has changed my lessons completely. It's incredible. I wish I'd had it years ago. And that ADI in Scotland is not alone. There are plenty of ADIs around the country. You know, you just have to look at the feedback we got from the survey we did of ADIs, and the best bit of feedback I got, one of the questions, a free-form question at the end. And I always highlight it in the presentations I give. And I said, I love the second to last response on the slide I've shown. And all it says is great, 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 great. I said, I don't need to know any more than that. That's all I need to know at the end of the day. You know, that this is the way that ADIs view it. So I have no expectation, and I think that the ADI world has really embraced it. And I just want more ADIs to do the same. I want the honest truth to become the road safety buzzword that ADIs use when they talk about road safety delivery. Oh yeah, that's the honest truth. I deliver the honest truth. That's where I want to see the honest truth get to. Is that it becomes the industry standard for road safety education within driver lessons. Plain and simple. There's that mountain. I'm going to stop and take a look at the view.
It's interesting to listen to you talk, because I'm on a similar-ish journey with this podcast. You know, I've got that same kind of goal. I want this to be the go-to resource for driving instructors for everything industry related. And I often sit and I'm like, why aren't 40,000 people listening? And it's the same thing with Honest Truths. Why aren't 40,000 driving instructors signed up? There's only one excuse, really, because there will be some people that are struggling financially, potentially, and they can't spare that amount. But taking that aside, there is no excuse for people not to use it. So it comes down to, do I care enough? That's all it comes down to. The only other excuse or answer is, I don't think it's good enough. In which case, I would advise anyone listening to reach out to yourself, Olly, and explain why it's not good enough, because I'm sure
Absolutely.
You would welcome that feedback.
We would welcome, the feedback we got from the survey was overwhelmingly positive, don't get me wrong. But if there are ADIs out there who use it and, for whatever reason, it isn't for them. And I've had an ADI that's come back to me and said, look, I'm going to, not going to continue my membership. It's just not working. I said, okay, no problem at all. So I had a bit of a to and fro conversation with them on an email. And again, I never really got to the bottom of why it wasn't working. I said, my pupils can't relate to the videos. And I thought, that's really odd, because that's completely goes against everything else I'm being told. Completely against everything else I'm being told. So I then think about, well, is there something in the delivery? There's something in the introduction of it. If it's something that somebody's taken on because they felt they had to rather than because they wanted to, are they then giving it the emphasis they need to introduce it into lesson? And again, I never really got the end of it. But then, Terry, we've mentioned already in this particular podcast that there are ADIs out there who this won't be for, which is absolutely fine. And I completely get, I totally get, but there are going to be plenty of ADIs out, I genuinely believe, who go, actually, this is exactly what I'm looking for. This is exactly what I want. Come and join us. It's that simple. It's not a tricky process. It is that simple.
And I suppose as well, we can look at it. People try it, and if it's not for them, they can walk away. So we mentioned the cost before. So do you want to just tell us about the cost?
Okay, so in areas that we've got, there are funded places in some areas around the country. So I've got funded places in Cornwall, in Devon, in Avon, Somerset, in West Mercia, which is Worcestershire, Shropshire, and Herefordshire, in Staffordshire, in Warwickshire, in Kent, and in Norfolk. So I've got a good number of counties there that have got funded places for ADIs. Devon and Cornwall are 50% funded, so they half fund from ADI to fund themselves. That means an ADI would end up paying £3.75 a month, the price of a cup of coffee. We always price things against coffee. So one coffee a month, I have the full package. All the other areas I've mentioned is fully funded, so it doesn't cost them anything. No cups of coffee at all required. Then anybody that's outside a funded area, there's a number of ways to do it. So a singular ADI subscription is £7.50 a month. For that, full app access, 50 young driver guides, 50 parents guides, 50 My Car, My Rules cards, nice car sticker that we just redesigned, and that's in print at the moment. So really nice, eye-catching car sticker. Graphics for social media, for websites, things like that. Obviously, ongoing support from myself here at sort of the head of the team, and any additional developments on the app will come out automatically, so that we just add those in. So the new Truth will come out automatically. There's no additional cost for those. So that's a singular ADI on their own, can do that. If, however, there are driving schools out there, so your kind of small to medium-sized driving schools, the more ADIs that get signed up from a driving school, the lower the cost becomes. So you get to a point where if you have 20 or more ADIs from the same school sign up, then that drops to £5 per ADI per month. That's already a 33% reduction in the monthly cost. And the same for ADI association. So if there's multiple members of an ADI association want to join up, exactly the same process and the same. And again, the discounted rates are available on the website. So if people want to go and have a look at them, they are thinking, I've got 8 cars. Well, actually, on the website, it will tell you how many 8 cars is the monthly subscription. But also, Terry, membership of organisations. For example, those that any organisation that is driving instructor related. So your podcast, for example, any of those that are involved in the podcast that want to come on board, then actually, if the numbers are there, then more than happy to look at a monthly discounted rate. So in fact, that could bring it down, say £5 a month per ADI. Actually, that's only 2 cups of coffee a month, which again is negligible. And that, for that, you do get everything that I've mentioned. So it's not just the access to the app, it's all the other resources that go around it as well. So you've got those young driver guides, you've got the parents guides, you've got the My Car My Rules cards, you've got, all of the bits and pieces as part of that membership. So, you've said it, I'll quite happily say it as well, is, if ADIs are out there thinking, why should I get involved in this? Turn the question on its head and go, why shouldn't I get involved in this? Why wouldn't I get involved in this?
It's interesting, and just doing quick maths there, and this could be wrong, but I reckon that if you increased your prices by about 12 pence an hour, that would cover the cost of a full month subscription at full price. So, 12 pence an hour increase and we could cover it. It's not even that big of a thing in that sense. I like it.
And the thing about, and yes, and I totally agree with you, Terry, the cost in the current squeeze of living and the cost of living crisis that everybody faces and all that, I completely get it, which is why we've tried to make it as attractive as possible to as many ADIs as possible. But actually, when it comes down to it, can you put a price on you as an ADI delivering road safety education to one of your pupils, who as a result takes away one bit of information and makes a decision based on that information, which results in them not being involved in a serious or fatal collision? Is that worth £7.50 of your hard-earned money?
Obviously. The other thing,
it's a rhetorical question.
Yes.
I know the answer already. It's about putting the price on safety and on being able to try and do your bit as an ADI, to make the pupils that you have at the end of that conveyor belt, when they come running out the test centre with that test pass certificate, and you're about to unleash them on the big bad world of driving on their own. Do you want to look at them and go, I did everything I possibly could to make them as safe a driver as possible at this moment in time. Now the rest of it's down to them. But I've done everything I could.
It ties in with the conversation that we should be having with our students about their first car. I'll hold my hands up here. It wasn't that long ago when I used to say, get the cheapest car you can to get your insurance down. And a few years ago, my mindset shifted, and it's, no, you want to get the safest car you can, which means that it's probably going to be more expensive. But it's that same thing, and they will potentially sometimes say, well, I can't afford this. I'm like, can you put a price on your safety? You want to invest the most you can in yourself, and it's the same with the honest truth. Even if you pay that full price, which is, as you said, £7.50 a month, look at what you're delivering to your students. Look at what you're promoting yourself as. You're promoting yourself as a safe driving instructor, someone that believes in road safety and believes in being a competent driver beyond just passing a driving test. And I'm not saying that people that don't use honest truth don't believe that, but it's an excellent opportunity to promote that. I mean, on the website, I think I'm right in saying this, there's a section where you can go onto a map and you can see where the honest truth drivers are.
Yeah. So again, that's another benefit, is ADIs, if they want to, they can put themselves onto the ADI map. So we encourage, young people and parents alike to pick an ADI who delivers honest truth, because we know that they are delivering those additional life skills. If you look at the price of the non-discounted price of an ADI, Terry, at £7.50 a month, £90 a year, and £90 a year. Say you've got 45 pupils, so you're talking £2 per pupil. You're talking £2 per pupil per year. If you have 45 pupils, just keep the maths simple. 10 truths as it is at the moment. Well, that's 20 pence. 20 pence for a bit of road safety education. 20 pence. That might be that bit of information you give them, that education you give them, that makes that difference once they pass their test. And that's cost you 20 pence. Can I just say really quickly, actually, Terry, really interesting. You just made a comment about buying your first car and your shift in attitude. Would it surprise you to know that one of our 3 new truths is going to be all about buying your first car?
No, because I heard it mentioned on Josh Holleran's podcast the other day.
I thought you might have done. I thought it's a real coincidence.
It is genuinely something I'd shifted a little while ago, and I say I hold my hands up and I'll say I didn't used to have that approach. It's getting more involved and reading more into elements of the road safety sector that I'm seeing how parts of parts of my mindset have just been wrong. And I'm honest enough to hold my hands up and say, yeah, I was wrong. So I was interested, and I will shout out now that anyone listening, go and check out Josh Holleran's YouTube channel, which is Mirror Signal Podcast, because Olly was on there recently with a cracking episode, almost as good as this. Almost. So go and check it out. But yeah, I was intrigued at the 3 new truths you were adding on there. So do you want to take a moment just to tell us about the 3 new truths and why you're adding those on?
Absolutely. So after much deliberation, the 3 new truths we are in the process of developing at the moment are tyre safety, because again, and it's really interesting that for a lot of young people, young drivers, and maybe some ADIs out there as well, who knows, don't really think about the fact that, well, a couple of things with regards to tyres. One, you're talking about 4 pieces of rubber about the size of a postcard is what's holding you onto the road. So actually, if they're in poor condition, your chance of your adhesion to the road are greatly reduced. Wet weather, slippery weather, those sorts of things, you're going to lose control far, far quicker. But actually, 2 ball tyres or two tyres, they've got a chunk missing out of them, or tear or fire cord exposed. Well, that's 3 points for each of those. There's your license gone.
Mm. So
you don't have to be speeding or use your mobile phone or any of these offences to lose your license. 2 ball tyres will do it. So we decided that actually tyre safety is a really big issue. And again, with the cost of living squeeze, is people are trying to eke as much life out of their tyres as possible, and looking at retreads and looking at second-hand tyres and all these sorts of things, which is, again, it's a fool's errand. Is false economy is with tyres, for me, it's absolutely buy the best that you can afford, because that's what keeps you on the road. That's the only thing that keeps you on the road at the end of the day. The tyre safety, for that reason. Simple vehicle maintenance and vehicle checks. So thinking about your vehicle checks as well. So looking at, actually, are you checking your tyres on a daily basis? Are you checking all your lights are working? Are you checking any of the levels under your bonnet? The last thing you want to do is to run out all the seats and engine, because that's going to be used straight up the road in a very expensive bill. So a piece around simple vehicle checks and maintenance as well, to try and get, particularly talking to Sophie Lydon from Fresh Drivers UK, is the reluctance of particularly younger females to go into a garage environment, because they think they're going to be ripped off, and they that's going to cost you a fortune. Bang it with a hand, bang it with a steering. That's not a great thing. That's certainly gone, and all that's gone as well. Well, they don't know. So actually trying to debunk some of the myths around that and give a little bit of confidence to young drivers to be able to go into that garage environment. So vehicle maintenance and checks. And then obviously buying your first car. And exactly as you alluded to, Terry, is yes, the days of get the cheapest one you can afford. It doesn't matter if you dink it. It doesn't matter if, that's fine. Well, that's unlike to have any of the more safety systems on it, any of your ADAS systems, things like that. So actually look at buying the best that you can afford. So think some of the things to think about. Do you want to get an ass-kicking stereo, a massive spoiler, and a baked bean cam for an exhaust? Or do you want to get ABS, traction control, and seatbelt pretensions? So it's actually thinking about, these things that in the event of the collision are going to save your life at the end of the day. The all-round airbags, all these different things. So choosing your first car is going to be the other the last one of those 3 that we're going to be putting out. And when we've got those all sorted out and we've got them recorded and what have you, they'll be uploaded to the app automatically. It'll be an update on the app. And then as soon as they're available and up on the app, any ADI who's delivering on this truth will have 3 new truths that they'll be able to deliver off the back of that. Well, again, we just add it into the app, no extra cost to anybody. We'll do all that. We develop all that. We just think these are important things that young drivers need to know, particularly post-test. So the ones, maybe those 3 on the run up to a test. So they've got, they've done all the other 10, which are those safety critical ones. Now they've got the additional 3 to think about once they get to the post-test phase.
I love that. I think that they're 3 important ones. I really do. And I think that they're ones that are, and potentially this is why there wasn't in the first 10, but I think they're ones that kind of sneak under the radar a little bit. The vehicle maintenance ones, they get brushed under the show me, tell me questions on the test. The tyres, again, it's can you 1.6 millimeters, and that kind of stuff. So I think they get swept under, and they're ones I've been trying to bring in more, even the safe vehicle one. So I run a sister podcast of this called the 1 Minute Driving Instructor Tips podcast. And that was a tip on there recently, and it's been that mindset shift in me. And I think the only one of those of everything that I still struggle to get students on board with, and this is on me, not them, but it's the maintenance. That's the one I struggle with. So I'm looking forward to this coming on because that might help. But on one final note on that, how awesome is Sophie Lydon?
She's great, isn't she? She is great. Yeah, she came on a webinar we had to talk about tyre safety on cars, and it was a really interesting and really well attended. Attended. It went down really well. So yeah, Sophie's great. It's how many. If you think about tyres, how many ADIs, and more importantly, how many young drivers know what a dot code is on a tyre and how to find it and how to interpret a dot code on a tyre?
I'm not going to answer that question. I'm going to go text Sophie Lydon after this.
I'm not going to put you on the spot.
No, but I will be getting in touch with Sophie.
It's a really simple thing. And these, this will tell you instantly how old a tyre is. You can instantly see how old a tyre is by looking at the dot code. If you don't know what a dot code is, where to find it, or how to interpret it, how on earth do you know what you're looking at? So these really simple things. You suddenly realise you've got a tyre here that's 10, 12 years old. That tyre's probably had it a long time.
Yeah.
But so these are the sorts of things we're going to be developing into.
And is there anything else you'd like to touch on today? Anything you've missed, perhaps I want to get across to driving instructors in particular?
Something, Terry? I think I've probably talked long enough, to be honest with you. I could go on all evening with, trust me. But I think, the only thing for me is to reiterate, for ADIs out there, don't underestimate the power of that ADI-pupil relationship and the power that you've got to change the mindset of the next generation of drivers, however you do it, whether that's using Honest Truth or not. If you want to come and use the Honest Truth, amazing. We welcome you all with open arms. PDIs, you absolutely welcome PDIs. There's a lot of new PDIs out there at the moment. I get a lot of inquiries from PDIs. And all I say about PDIs is that you're through your part 2, you're actually working towards your part 3, and Honest Truth welcomes you with open arms. Absolutely. So, whether or not you choose to use the Honest Truth as your mechanism of delivering road safety in your lessons, would love it if you did. But if you didn't, or if you decide not to, you don't want to, absolutely no problem at all. But don't underestimate the influence that you have on the next generation of drivers, and that you are a critical part of the road safety intervention program, right from cradle to grave. You are a critical part of that, and the Honest Truth recognises that, and we understand that. And that's what we recognise ADI for.
So if someone did want to sign up to Honest Truth, where's the best place for them to go?
Go to the website, www.thehonesttruth.co.uk. All the information you need is on there. Drop me a line straight to the inquiry form on the website, or you can sign straight up. There's a Join Now button on the website. Really straightforward. A simple registration form that you can fill out. That comes through to me. If it's a place in a funded area, at the end of it, you don't need to do it. If it isn't a place, if it's a self-funded place, then you can then go through. There's the ability to set up a subscription. If you are a member of a driver, or you're owner of a driving school, or you're an ADI within a sort of medium-sized driving school, get whoever owns a driving school to get in touch with me. I can talk about multiple discounts. Same with chairs of ADI associations, exactly the same. Get in touch with me. We can talk about that and then organise patients. I know, Terry, you and I will have had a discussion before we recorded this around, the organisation that around that you deal with. So come and join us. Come and join us, and come and join the ever-growing band of ADIs who have chosen the honest truth as their road safety plug-in for their driving lessons.
I like it. Links for that will be in the show notes and on the website blog. But big thank you for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Terry, you are so welcome, and I thank you so much for inviting me to join you. It's been great, and I've loved chatting to you. It's been brilliant. Thank you so much.
So a big thank you to Olly Tayler there for joining me. I found that a really insightful episode, and I hope you guys did too. In particular, I'll be honest, in particular, the idea around how bad is your dad? And I don't think I'm going to run with that theme, but why aren't this young generation calling out? I think that's something I'm going to have to dig into a little bit more. Maybe that's a future episode there. Why, when they're that keen to call out everything else, they don't want to call out this? And I find that fascinating. So maybe you'll hear more from that going forward. So yeah, big thank you to Olly there. And as I said at the start, if you want to sign up to The Honest Truth, and I encourage that you do, you can find the link in the show notes, or you can head over to thehonest.truth.co.uk. Now, for an individual person, it is £7.50 a month. There are ways to get discounts, so I'm currently in talks with The Honest Truth about getting a discount for my premium members. There are other areas you can get discounts. You can check online and see if you're entitled to free access, because some of it is funded. And if you sign up to the Bright Coaching Professional Diploma, you get it free for a year as well. But even if you're signing up just as an individual for £7.50 a month, it's well worth it. And I would highly recommend that everyone goes and does it right now. £7.50, commit for 3 months and see how you get on with it. I find it works really well. I actually do it different to the way a lot of people do it. I don't come into the lesson with the mindset of, I'm talking about this today. I come in with the mindset of, let's see what opportunity comes up. So if an opportunity comes up to use one of the videos to have that discussion, I bring it in then. There's always an opportunity. I don't tend to come along and say, we're doing this today. So I find it works really well that way. So get you self-signed up and see how you get on. And as I mentioned, Bright Coaching there, you do get it for free. Sign up to a professional diploma. And as of recording, there's still a couple of places left available for the next intake on their diploma. So head to brightcoaching.net to check that out, because you do not want to miss out on this. It's something that I will be taking part in, and I'm looking forward to taking part in as soon as time permits. But make the most of this opportunity while it's there. So head over to brightcoaching.net, sign up to the newsletter, and see if you can sign up to the next cohort. I also mentioned the Instructor Podcast Premium, and I would obviously highly recommend that you go and sign up to that. Don't just take my word for it, though. Take the word for it of all of the people that fully embrace it and call it the best value CPD in the industry, and also often the best CPD in the industry. I recently worked out there is over 3 days worth of content there. So if you were to listen to it all in one go without stopping, 3 days worth of content, and you can sign up for a free trial. So there's 2 tiers, a £10 tier and a £22 tier. Sign up to a free trial at the £10 tier, make the most of it, and if you want to upgrade later, you can do, or that £22 tier is limited to 75 people, and I think there's about 10 spaces left. So you might want to jump in that while you can, because there's also some excellent discounts there, as well as all the amazing content. There's discounts. As I mentioned, I'm looking to get the Honest Truth on board. You can get a 50% discount for the ADI and JC membership. You get £10 off Bob Morton's client-centered learning, and that's £10 a month, by the way. You get discounts on Phil Cowley's instructor training, on the ADI PDI doctor, all these amazing resources and more. So either use the link in the show notes, or you can head over to www.theinstructorpodcast.com to find more details and links over there, or you can always drop me a message. I'm always happy to have a chat with you about it. And the last thing I'll mention is it is a membership. You do need to sign up and pay monthly. However, if in that first month you decide it's not for you and the 75 plus hours of content over there are not for your liking, then you can leave. It's very, very easy to leave. Part of the reason I use the platform I do is because it is easy to sign up, it is easy to leave, and it is easy also to change memberships. So if you were to sign up to the £22 tier and then decide you want to drop down to the 10, That's very, very simple to do as well. So, yes, www.theinstructorpodcast.com. But for now, let's just keep raising standards.
The Instructor Podcast with Terry Cook. Talking with leaders, innovators, experts and game changers about what drives them.
Donatello is the best Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.